Hello, viewers. Tonight, or rather, it is the morning time, but it is very early morning. I would like to do a type of, how should I say it, an an open forum video. Excuse me, I had to drink some water. Basically, an open forum video, which, truth be told, my videos always have a very open forum. There are no restrictions on my comment forum, but I would like, if you have any suggestions, basically for content, or if you have any feedback, I would appreciate it. Today, I'm going to talk about my plans, my schedule rather, regarding what I want to do. This channel is, it is very, I happen to make content for a variety of different types of viewers. There are gamers, people who like FromSoft games or RPGs in general. There are Christians and other people who are interested in religion or maybe more cult subjects. Let me see. There are people who like my opinions upon certain cultural things as well. Excuse me, people, one moment. Alright. This time of year, I often have to clear my throat. But, anyhow, and it always seems as though it happened during the times I'm making videos for whatever reason. So I make content for manga readers as well. Now, I think, although many people did, I think in regard to my manga videos, those are very interesting. And I am somewhat curious to know people's opinions about my commentary regarding the manga that I read. I've only read 2 thus far on this channel. I do hope to expand that. These videos are videos in which I happen to narrate, but I also usually do give my own opinions about it, and I am very critical about what I see, which it is very easy to do when you are reading manga, because the culture is often fantastical or very ridiculous in many ways, and as we know, manga is not very realistic. So, I do that intentionally. When I first started that manga series, the Claymore manga series, I had strong opinions about it, as it was. And so, when I decided to do a series about it, when I decided to narrate that manga, I really felt as though I should just give my honest opinions, share my knowledge about whatever subjects I know about it relative to culture, and many of the other things that manga really incorporates. Claymore is a manga that really has a lot to do with blood, gore, and eating humans. And I think there are a lot of people who seem to, how should I say this? They do not seem to really talk about or even meditate upon those particular subjects that manga presents. They extensively use what may be called vor, if you have ever heard of the vor fetish, which is a sexual fetish that some people have, in which people are sexually aroused by other people being eaten in whatever way. Excuse me. All right. But yes. Claymore, as those of you who may have seen, I believe it was the 14th chapter, I believe. We got to see that in the Claymore manga, they did not have any problems with basically depicting a little girl almost completely naked. And that was very interesting. I talked a good deal about that in another video called Claymore Intermission. If you want to hear more about that, or you can just watch me reading that chapter. It was quite scandalous. I do plan to continue reading Claymore. I may have more Claymore videos basically out very soon. Now, in regard to the subscribers who subscribe for more religious videos, especially the Christian videos, you have probably recognized by now that my Christian videos are usually based upon, just like my manga commentary videos, criticism. And I will say this, that most of my videos, the impetus for me making them, or rather, what they revolve around is criticism. So, oftentimes, they take this format, in which, instead of just simply teaching something to you, I usually happen to dedicate the video to certain individuals in the Christian community who are either setting a bad example, or are, as it would be so happen, teaching something that is not particularly correct by what may be called Christian standards. And so I do that. Thus far, I have not been really taking the time to look on people's social medias and see if there are any teachings who I can sort of use as an example. That does seem like a weird way to do Christian videos, but weirdly enough, a lot of people do like them. They have helped a good deal of people. Especially the one about Ravinder, who happened to, as it so happened, associate with a few other individuals such as Truth Seeker, spelled with a K-A-H, not K-E-E, K-K-E-R. He spells his name wrong, but he has a YouTube channel here too, if you want to see that. And you can see what he teaches, and you can see why I have a problem with Truth Seeker and Ravinder as well. Though I will be honest, I really have not even taken the time to go on this, the sort of Christian social media sphere. It is interesting. I see certain individuals usually debating about the same things, Trinitarians and other people, often debating about the same subjects, and I felt, well, I would like my videos to be somewhat different. So that is what I often do. I often do not talk about many of the doctrines that many of us are, how should I say, familiar with, or, often have disagreements about. In my opinion, among Christians there will be ideological differences, however slight they are. And I just feel as though certain things are not at all worth arguing about. And so to me, there is really no reason to do videos about them. So I stay away from videos about things like the Trinity and the like. Some people believe in it. Some people do not believe in it. I myself am one of the individuals who do not subscribe to that particular doctrine. I understand what it is, but I have my own reasons. I understand it, but to me, I like a literal sun. I like a real sun. I do not like a metaphorical sun. To me, a sun is a sun, and a sun is not just a role, but a sun is a real son of the Most High God. The Son is a real prince, a real son, the Prince of Peace. And people often have terrible debates about that, very bitter debates about it, and I simply do not think it all really matters that much. These people all worship the same God, but they fight over that so much that I often see that in the Christian community. So to me, when I do religious videos, Christian videos, I do videos when I see someone making glaring mistakes, really glaring mistakes that, quite frankly, for example, if a person is promoting what may be called New Age or theosophical doctrines such as the law of attraction, I have to say, no, that is not Christian. Karma is not Christian. Kundalini is not Christian. Those things I am more interested in making videos about. So I have not done this in a long time. So some of my Christian subscribers and Christian viewers, or peradventure even religious viewers who are interested in these subjects, I have not really made many videos thus, or at least for a while, that have been specifically just about religious, subjects or figures. Alright? I did try a scripture reading, so to speak, with a particular book, Mephistus, an early church gospel, but not many people were very interested in that, and it was quite dry as far as videos are concerned. For me, I prefer more of an improvised podcast. But I would also say that I sort of do those on impulse. If you want to see any of those videos, go to the playlist that I have called Christian Influencers and Public Figures Reviewed. And basically that is how I do most of my religious videos. I just review different Christian public figures on social media. There may be a time when I do more substantive religious videos, but oftentimes I talk about all manner of subjects. Although my videos are not, how should I say, necessarily about everything, but I do present a good deal of philosophical, symbolic, religious, and ideological knowledge in general in nearly all of my videos, because frankly, as Bill Cooper said, everything is about religion. You may not like it, but everything is about ideology, religion, systems of ideas, systems comprised of ideas, ideological systems. In other words, religions, philosophies, or whatever you might call them. Now, the word philosophy has been quite overused, to be entirely honest, because philosophy meaneth the love of wisdom. And many people who call themselves philosophers have not really considered the question as to what wisdom is, nor do they really express any interest in loving it. And so, this was a word that was established during old Greek times, and the meaning has really lost a good deal of its. It really has lost a good deal of its meaning. There are people who are nihilists. There are people who are anti-natalists, pro-mortalists, so to speak. All of these words have meaning. All of these words have meaning. So, what is wisdom, and do we love it? Those should be two questions that any philosopher, if they consider themselves to be a philosopher or just a person who loves, philosophy or any of those subjects, or really has a consideration, for particular ideologies that they consider philosophy. I think a good question would be, are those philosophies and are those thinkers who comprise such systems philosophers? But those are whole different subjects. Basically, in my videos, from what you see, I do basically talk about all types of different subjects on any given video. This channel was created for the purpose of really analyzing media and finding religious, symbolic, ideologically significant things in narrative regarding first Demon Souls and then FromSoft games in general, such as Elden Ring. I did feel as though that was not being done nearly enough. There were certain channels that used to analyze media, that used to talk about media far more than many of the current channels do today. And so I felt there was a need for someone to really talk about Elden Ring, and as well as just FromSoft games like Demon Souls, and even manga. I think I am one of the only people who really recognize that in the Claymore manga, there's an underage girl that they are really depicting in a sexual manner, and this girl basically has no clothes on. That was a big revelation, I am sure, to a lot of people. Now, and as I said, please give all of your opinions in the forum below. I encourage you to do so. None of your comments will be deleted. If they are deleted, that means that YouTube deleted them. So, please do contribute your opinion. I'm very interested in seeing your opinions. I was quite surprised that many people would take interest in my channel at all. But I have basically, as it would seem, hundreds of hours of watch time, if not more than that. I mean, I have had so many hours of, the watch time on my channel is basically the certain amount of hours in which people watched videos from the channel. The amount of time people watch those videos is huge. And I'm quite happy about that. Certain videos are very much liked for those who are looking for more religious content on my channel. I would tell you to, if you are looking for some type of religious counsel, there was a particular video that I did that a good many people do like. If you have not seen it already, it is called Quitting Weed. This is a video by Miss Ravinder. No, it is a video about Miss Ravinder. Ravinder decided to quit weed. This woman has apparently sort of fallen into a bad habit of hers. And the last time I read her Facebook page, she said that she wanted to quit weed. It was not very good for her because she was addicted. Now, some of you who may have drug problems, I highly recommend this. I also highly recommend this to Christians who really want to learn more about prayer. And, for my religious and Christian people, you may benefit from it. I also have decided to really start, putting out more forum posts about Elden Ring and really reviewing more concepts regarding the stars in Elden Ring, regarding the dragons, regarding the stone entities, other things such as that. My forum has been very it has been a very good experience for me, and I do have a good deal of subjects that I have reviewed. I have quotations from all manner of books about all manner of topics. It is very well researched. I would have to say I do plan to do more Elden Ring videos. I have to say that they may be more or less dry because there's no gameplay for that commentary. You basically, see the forum posts and you get to, read it. I mean, you can go to the website. I have a forum on the About page. It is basically called the Elden Ring Information Gathering Group. That is kind of a stupid name. I know that the layout may seem somewhat, how should I say, rosy, I suppose, but I basically have done things about Ronnie, silver, gold, all types of subjects. The Spirit Calling Bell. I have a good deal of these subjects I talk about in the podcast format. So these videos are here. They are a major part of my channel. For any of you who are Elden Ring fans, once again, this is an open forum video. Every video is an open forum video, but especially this one, I'm basically encouraging you to comment and tell me what you want. If you think that there is a particular subject in Elden Ring that I should research and do a forum post and a video about, I will. I am going to also I'm also going to, how should I say, do a more laid back Elden Ring podcast as well, eventually. And those podcasts are the ones in which I basically show you my Elden Ring gameplay, just as I'm doing now, but I specifically talk about different subjects in Elden Ring. Now, some of you are probably very interested as to how I am basically playing without any HUD. In other words, any health gauges, FP gauges, and gauges in general. This is something that I do for the sake of beauty. To me, Elden Ring is a game that is very beautiful, and I like to play it without the HUD. I use Sheet Engine to sort of tailor my experience. And this works very well as commentary gameplay, because you can just see the environment and you do not have to be distracted by gauges such as health gauges and FP gauges. What you see is the simplistic beauty of the landscape. And to me, I see this as excellent for podcasts, to be honest. Now, let me think, who else do I have who is subscribed to me? Matters of cultural issues. Especially ones pertaining to freedmen of Aboriginal and African descent here in the United States. I I do those videos when I sort of find something that is very interesting. And I do have some planned. I do have some things that I would like to talk about. Let me think. Some cultural things pertaining to I may talk about some of the things regarding Palestine and the nation formerly known as Palestine, Israel. But basically, it is all under Israeli occupation. A lot of Christians, of my fellow Christians, do have some very strong opinions about that. I myself think that what we call the nation state of Israel is a result of European imperialism. I do not believe there is anything godly about it, but that is my opinion. And of course, there is a very long history of imperialism in the Middle East. However, in my opinion, and I think it is fairly obvious that Israel is a clear case of European imperialism. It really is. That is an ethno-state. It is literally defined as a Jewish state. And I think in a state such as that, bigotry is implicit. If you are not Jewish, you are going to be discriminated against in some way. It is the only state that I can think of that is like that. The only country I can think of that is like that. However, I think that Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan would be somewhat like that. However, I think that Israel is basically on par with that. There have been stories and, video clips of some Christian preachers going over there to Israel preaching and being attacked by Jewish people. There's a pretty terrible history over there. But as for my role in it as a foundational Black American who is foundational to this country, of Aboriginal and African stock, I do not really consider that a sort of struggle that is even worthy of any sort of input from me or any freedman. There are some particular Black Americans who are getting involved in taking sides. However, I myself feel as though, to be entirely honest, this is just the United States military-industrial complex basically getting involved in yet another, and yet more wars. And when these wars are done, we have immigrants come here to this country who often do settle in Black neighborhoods because Black neighborhoods are the poorest neighborhoods. And so when these people come to this country, it is very evident, especially in the inner cities. I myself live in a rural area, and so I do not really have many people around me. Many of the people around me, my family has known for a long time. I live in a small town. I will put it that way. On a country road, all right? However, in many poor inner city communities, they have interactions with, for example, the Afghani refugees, and I'm sure there are going to be Palestinian refugees with Latino immigrants and all manner of immigrant populations. And what many people have seen is that many of these immigrant populations come from cultures in which they feel as though they do not need to respect people of darker complexions. And some of you may find that strange, but when we freed men and freed women are telling you that this happens, no, we are not joking. Nearly every immigrant population that comes here, not all, but there are a good deal of individuals. It is a real phenomenon where immigrants who come to this country, they come from cultures where darker people are not necessarily respected. All right? And this is true even for African immigrants who come to this country, who feel as though foundational black Americans are lazy, or they do not have a culture, which we do. We have quite a rich culture. And the interesting thing is that we are not all from Africa. We are mixed with not only Aboriginal American Indians, but we are also mixed with, we are mixed with European too. So we as foundational black Americans are a very diverse people, but we are the lowest in American society. In U.S. society, we are sort of the lowest social strata, and so we are discriminated against even from African immigrants. Many immigrant populations do not want to be sort of even dark Indians and African immigrants. They really do not want to be associated with black Americans. Now, not all. There are respectable people, but there are also Africans who will call you a kata. And so that is a problem that some of us have, and we have to deal with it. So sometimes I do talk about some of these social issues. So for me, in regard to Israel and Afghanistan, it doth not matter what opinion we have about it. Our taxpayer money is paying for it. Our tax money is paying for it. If a person pays taxes in this country, they are funding American wars. We do not have a choice to do it, but it is happening. All right? We may not support the war, the Israel-Hamas war. We may not support any of these groups, but our money is funding both money to Israel as well as the aid that the United States is paying to Palestinians. And personally, I do not really consider that to be a worthy use of the United States budget, merely due to the fact that the United States citizenry is being neglected. The politicians are, for the most part, Democrat and Republican, are not doing anything in particular for freedmen. For American freedmen, they are not doing anything in particular for us. All right? They just simply are not. And we recognize that. So I like to talk about the fact that black is a social status. A lot of countries have black and white people. No one is white and no one is black. There are just certain people who are not, how should I say, it is basically a type of caste system based upon complexion. That is all pale supremacy is. I can call it white supremacy, I can call it pale supremacy, but I do talk about that quite a lot. I do have some videos that revolve around that particular subject. As for those of you who got involved in this channel due to cultural issues, sometimes I do not keep up with news. To be honest, I do not keep up with news because a lot of the news is very depressing and I have very little interest in it. Because to me, I have enough to worry about in my own life, and I just simply do not have any interest in seeing it in sooth. In sooth means in truth. I do like to do word studies on this channel in just about every video. Um, so, I would say that basically, regardless of what happens in Israel, in the occupied territory or occupied reservation or open air prison of Gaza, and and the West Bank is basically an Indian reservation too. Some of you who know the history of American Indian reservations, you understand the significance of what I just said about pertaining to me calling Gaza and the West Bank Israel's occupied territories reservations. Some of you know exactly, the significance of what I said, and it needeth no further elucidation. But that is what they are basically. It used to be, if you decided to get off of the reservation, you get shot. And there are some poor Aboriginal Australian communities in Australia as well. Some people may not understand why freedmen and Aboriginal Australians, many people may say, oh, you're so angry, you have a big ship on your shoulder, you just cannot let go of that sort of that hatred that you have for and it is not hatred, it is a type of caution. We have our history, and it is different when you live on land that was colonized, or you are a descendant of a population that has benefited from the enslavement of your ancestors. I will put it that way. That is our history. And so I can understand why people feel that way. Now, myself, I know that once this life ends, or at least I believe that once this life ends, well, to me, life never ends. And the reason I think that is because, to me, the physical body perishing is not necessarily death. To me, the physical dies, but the spirit will be with the Lord. In my opinion, people have different ideas about it, but a person cannot really justify faith. It is an internal thing, an intuitive thing. So, for me, I have no real fear of death, because I am ready for death. Even now, at the age of 33, I've had enough relatives pass, and I suppose that is the sort of consequence of being the youngest child, is that you do see a lot of relatives pass. Especially when you were a child who was born at your parents' particular later point of life, or what have you, but I am not going to talk about the relatives in question, to be entirely honest. But regardless of how many relatives have passed over, I believe without any doubt that I will see them again. And so that type of faith is a strange thing to a good deal of people, especially in these times. But basically, no one can take that sort of belief away from me. Belief is an interesting word. It hath an interesting definition, and basically it meaneth to accept. And dogma meaneth opinion, tenet, principle, and even belief. Dogma is often a word that is not necessarily considered to be a good word. However, every abstract thinker who can conceive of concepts regarding Basically anyone who can form ideas and accept ideas to some extent is dogmatic. In other words, if you can reasonably think, you have dogmas. If you have the capability to create ideas, to think abstractly, you are capable of basically forming and attaching yourself to dogmas. You have your own dogmas. Many people are not really many people are confused about just how abstract or vague, or how should it be said, wide-ranging and broad words can be. There are concrete words and there are abstract words. Words have, a word does not really have a positive, in other words, a word like dogma is often given negative connotations. But these things all simply have to do with what people accept. People accept certain things. There are individuals who will say, I do not believe in anything. Whoever saith that is clearly a liar. If you have the capability to even speak a language, or reason, or think in any sort of vague, abstract way, if you understand what an abstract word is, even, you have ideas that you accept, you have dogmas. If you can think abstractly, it is I would say it is impossible for you not to have some type of ideology. This is how the mind works. Now, the only way you could not would be if you had a mind that was, how should it be said, completely dysfunctional, or else you have a very low degree of intelligence. You would have to basically be mentally retarded. You would have to be mentally disabled in a severe way not to be able to form an ideology. And people have ideologies, and that is all religions are. So oftentimes we talk about, or I talk about, the nuances of words. To be honest, forsooth, that is to say, for truth. There are many words that I could use instead of saying to be honest. Some people I do know do not like it if you say, well, if I am being honest, or to be honest, because some people think if you say that, you are sort of depicting yourself as a liar, which I have a habit of saying to be honest. But in sooth, I endeavor to be honest at all times. I endeavor to be. Though sometimes this is what you hear. I often do not say in sooth or forsooth, though as far as I know, the use of forsooth is more or less a word that is used for surprise. In sooth is sort of what I suppose one would use instead of saying to be honest, which I do think in sooth is a word that I should use more often rather than saying to be honest. Now let me think, what else do I want to talk about? What else can I think of in regard to my content? Let me think. So I make content for FromSoft video gamers. I did make a few videos about Baldur's Gate. One which I unlisted, but if you are a viewer who saw my review of Baldur's Gate and you want me to either make another one, or maybe you want the link to the unlisted video, I can give that to you. Just tell me. I really do not mind, but I really plan to keep that video unlisted because I think I expressed my opinions about Baldur's Gate 3 rather clumsily. I also have another video about Baldur's Gate regarding me talking about the drow female character Minthara, who I quite liked quite a lot, and I was involved in the discussions about her during early access. Excuse me. But that was a very interesting history. That video did receive a good deal of attention and love. Let me see. Let me think rather. In Sooth, I think I also have, let me think. Alright, there are religious viewers. There are people like FromSoft. There are manga readers, people like Claymore, the Claymore manga in particular. There are people who watch this channel for cultural issues, especially ones having to do with foundational Black Americans. So that's culture. That is video games and religion, basically. Alright, so viewers, this is an open forum video. Please comment on whatever I'm saying and what you would like from this channel. If there are any videos that you want, any subjects that you are interested in, please tell me. Tell me about what you think about the channel. Tell me about any subjects that you may want me to take a look at. Honestly, to be entirely honest, many of you like me have probably gotten sick of the news of the war, the military-industrial complex, the United States military-industrial complex, basically fighting a war again, which may become big, may not become big, but regardless, for those of us who live in the United States, it really is no surprise. It really is. There's Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan. I had heard that there was some action in Somalia as well. In Sooth. But I have to say that ever since these wars have basically begun since Iraq, and I did use Scythian. Scythian is a word that it meaneth the same thing as since. So ever since in Iraq, I have become very numb to all of this. Because despite how many protests there are, despite the disagreements that the citizens have about this, these wars continue nonetheless. Some of you may have saw some news from Chicago. The Palestinian protesters decided to start a fight with some Hebrew Israelites. If you do not know who the Hebrew Israelites are, they are people who consider themselves to be Jews, but they also use the New Testament and believe in Jesus Christ. Anyhow, these protesters for Palestine decide to start a fight with them. Now, what they claim is that they wanted to go over there and get the support. Or some of them say that they saw the Stars of David, and the Stars of David made them angry and made them think that they were Jewish people. Basically white Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, what have you. Now, the Hebrew Israelites have a completely different Weltanschauung worldview than Jewish people. For one thing, they do not call themselves Jewish. The ish is problematic for any person who really wants to sort of say that they are of the lineage of Jacob, because if you are ish, that means you pertain to. If you are Jewish, you pertain to a Jew. If you are childish, something about you pertaineth to a child. And so the word Jewish is a very poor choice of words. So the Hebrew Israelites really do believe that they are Hebrews. And so these Palestinians, for whatever reason, decided to, and I saw the video. If you want to find it, type in the YouTube search bar WFI Chicago. You will see their video of what happened. It is true, the protesters really did decide to attack them first. But what you'll see on the news, as you often do, there are lies about a group of foundational black Americans. Because oftentimes we who are foundational black Americans, freedmen, we see that oftentimes in regard to the news, we are lied about. And that is exactly what happened in regard to those particular individuals, those Hebrew Israelites, as they call themselves. They were lied about. And they are being presented now as instigators of a fight, and they were not. They were outnumbered by Palestinian protesters in Chicago. Now, they are not all Palestinian, but these people, they are supporting Hamas, that little government over there in the occupied reservation of Gaza. All right? And so they had a little fight. All right? And it took a few Hebrew Israelites to go out there and fight back. And basically the Palestinian protesters backed off. Those black men, they decided they were not going to have it. And I think, to some extent, because the Hebrew Israelites do incorporate the Bible, Old and New Testament, to some extent, they do not consider themselves Christian. However, they claim to follow Christ, and so to some extent they are Christians. I think these Palestinian protesters thought, well, if they decide to get rough with these Hebrew Israelites, they're not going to fight back. Christians never fight back when people mess with them. And I think that was what the protesters thought. They thought, they're reading the Bible. We can go and mess with them. Or maybe they thought that they were actually Jewish people. That these black people were just Jewish people. And they thought, these people are not going to do anything. And, well, they were proven wrong. A few of those Hebrew Israelites went and ran after them. And those people scattered. Some of those people hit them with their little flagpoles, with their Palestinian flags on them. This does not do anything good for those Palestinians, for their cause. It really doth not. And truth be told, by doing that, it doth not matter if the media lies about what happened. They are making themselves look bad. They really are. They are making themselves look so bad by picking fights with foundational black Americans. Of course, the Hebrew Israelites is an interesting group because they accept Latinos and Native Americans. They consider them all to be Hebrews, which is interesting, but they paint with a very wide brush, a very broad brush. Basically, they say, if you're Latino, Black American, or Native American, you are a Hebrew Israelite. Now, how they came to that conclusion, they have some justifications for it. Now, I do myself believe, and the Bible indicates this, that the Hebrews were dark-skinned. For those of you who are in doubt, go to the Bible websites and take a look at how often people are described as black. Hebrews are described as black in the Bible, and how the Ancient of Days has wool hair. Now, there are the only people you see with some woolen hair are those same people that a good deal of people say they have kinky, nappy hair. Well, that is wool hair. If you have touched wool, you know how curly and thick it is. And that is how my hair is, and that is how, you know, black people's hair is all over the world, where you're talking about Fiji, or there were certain American Indian tribes that were described as having short curly hair. What do you think happened to all of those tribes that were described as being dark-skinned and having short curly hair? Do you think that they just vanished, or peradventure the Europeans just decided to add them into the slave population as well? Many of us think that. Many of us have people in our families, and some particular foundational black Americans talk about it. They talk about the fact that they do have people in their families who talk about how, you know, some of their, you know, relatives really are American Indian, or ancestors really were American Indian. So, you know, we have those people here in the United States. You know, this is something that is not really shown in the media or really portrayed in the media. But that is an interesting subject as well, to be entirely honest. So I may do videos about American Indians. I may do a video about that and what that meaneth culturally. That hath a good deal of very interesting implications in sooth. So I do have some plans, but as I said, today's video is an open forum. This is basically going to be there's going to be a lot of rambling in this video. I do have plans going forward. I think that the closest thing that I may do, or rather the content that you may see next, is either an Elden Ring sort of forum post, or you will be seeing, how should I say this? You will be seeing what will you be seeing? Let me think. A Claymore. Another chapter of Claymore. I have read about 15 chapters. I am very critical in it, but if you are an individual who can deal with a person really openly expressing their very critical opinions of media, and you are not really a raving fanatic, or if you are a fanatic who can, I do not think there are any fanatics that can accept very much criticism, because if you would be that, you would not be a fanatic. I am very critical of the word fan. I do not like to consider myself a fan, but you may like it if you like honest commentary videos about particular media. You may like it. I think this gameplay video is about to end. To be honest, but this is basically an update video for me. Basically an update video. Okay? That is what this is. This game, in particular, is very fun. Okay? A very fun game. Which I do recommend you buy it. This is Fae Farm. It is one of those cute little farm simulators. Very fun, honestly. Let me see what resolution I have for this. 720p. All right. So that particular recording was not in full 1080p. This is a particular account that really keeps a lot of gameplay for me which I do appreciate. Anyhow, yes. As for what you may want, as I said, I am in sooth fairly low on ideas about what to do next in regard to this channel. I have about, I believe, almost 90 videos. So I'm almost to the point where I have 100 videos. I have not really interacted with subscribers very much. So, as I said, if you have any suggestions, any feedback, or just want to tell me what you think about the channel, please do, because I would appreciate some more ideas. I really would. Now, I still do plan to play Armored Core, but for that particular game, I am using DirectX 11 on my computer, and I'm going to have to see how I can sort of fix that. Basically now, I play my games for commentary gameplay for the most part. I do not really I do not play for fun as much as I used to. Even this game, as fun as it was, I really was not having. I just simply do not know. Games are not as fun to me anymore, but they are pretty and they really are nice for commentary videos. So, also tell me what you think about the commentary gameplay. Maybe you might have some games. Well, to be honest, actually do not give your suggestions about it. Well, you can if you want. But I will put it this way. I like RPGs more. I like farm simulators more. I like games like that. More or less. Like Song of Prairie or any type of farming game. I really like these types of games. Also, if you have any ideas for different manga that I can read and give my opinion on, please do. Or if you have any ideas about anime that you may want me to review. This channel, for the most part, it started as a media channel. Basically, I said, I'm going to do this channel where I basically look at symbolism. I want to find symbolism. I want to find out, or rather highlight any symbolism I can find in particular media. And for me, that was just FromSoft games, but I think now expanding those critiques, those reviews of media into different cultural things. For Claymore, I have to say, looking at all of the different weird sexual fetishistic ideas that the author has been quite interesting, to be honest. Excuse me. Some people may appreciate that, maybe you do not, because I'm being quite critical of what is his name, Norihiro or Yagi, or I am not so sure about if I remember the name of the Claymore manga author, but I'm being very critical of that manga. Some of you may appreciate that, some of you may not, but if I do another manga reading on the channel, if I do the same thing where I'm giving, narration and commentary about a particular manga, I will do the same thing, because I think I have to be honest. And so if I do actually, to be honest, I will tell you, I am planning to do Promised Neverland. I am planning to read Promised Neverland as my next manga. And that was an idea I had, but I think I want to do that. Please tell me what you think about me reading Promised Neverland. I have watched a good deal of the anime, but that is a very interesting manga, and I talked about that very early on when I was reading Claymore. In a particular video, I said I wanted to do that. I think that was a very popular manga, and so it hath a good deal of the same themes regarding cannibalism and sort of demons and other such things. So for me, and for the more religious people who, want to know about what is in the media for whatever reason, or if you are not particularly religious and you just want to know particular cultural and symbolic things, ideological, aspects of the media that you happen to absorb. These are very important videos, at least to me. A lot of people have had very interesting discussions with me in the forums. And when I refer to forum, I'm talking about the comment section. I know it is not often called a forum, but it is indeed a forum. So I would also say do not be discouraged if you disagree in the forum. Please, give your input. I, respond to any disagreements in a civil manner, so long as you are not basically engaging in just basically insulting behavior. But yes. So, this is my schedule so far. Thus far. You can feel fairly assured about that. As I said, this is an open forum video. Tell me what you think. I really have nothing else to talk about. May you be blessed and farewell. Right.